I see that.
What happened?
Like when she turned the video on, it didn't turn the video on.
Oh, it's. You can see that. There we are.
Hi.
Is there any board members online?
It does not, no, we don't see anything like.
Yeah,
We still have
Okay.
forum, yeah.
okay. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and call the meeting to order at 6 p.m. on 10/20/2025. And Amira, you wanna do roll call?
Yes, Doug Mendenhall. Not here. Greg Pennerly,
Here.
Taylor Henderson, and see her on there. Bill Hagedorn,
Here.
Gina Beam,
Here.
Bill Martin,
Here.
Natasha Atkinson.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Natasha, you wanna lead it?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, so the first item on the agenda is the executive session, which is under ORS 1926602A. And that's to consider the employment of an officer, employee, staff member, or agent. Or to conduct deliberations with persons you have designated to negotiate real property transactions. And so the attorney will be present, and anybody from the media, and then everybody else will exit until we in executive session.
So everyone that just hopped online besides Lori, hop off and then go back into the waiting room, and when executive session is over, I'll admit you all. Thank you.
Probably. My. Mary Poppins bag.
I take that back to home, right?
All right, perfect.
Thanks, Amir.
I'm gonna do that. You should take
Did
a
any
jacket.
new board members join or? Let's see.
Well,
Doug's here.
Doug's here.
Doug.
So we can go on record, just saying that Doug.
Doug's here.
So we're gonna resume the public board meeting at 6:34. And Doug Mendenhall joined the executive session.
Thank you.
I could get here from Coburg Road. Oh.
Bill was going to read.
Yeah. Everybody good.
Yeah.
I'd like to, make a motion that we post an internal job posting for the general manager.
Second.
Is there any discussion?
Sounds great.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. So the motion to list the GM position internally passed. Has everybody had a chance to go through the consent agenda?
Yes.
All right, do we have a motion to accept it?
Motion to accept the consent agenda as written.
Second,
I'll second it.
okay, any discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Okay, so the motion to accept the consent agenda passed. Next is the ODOT update from Jennifer Boardman.
Good evening. I hope you're all
Hey,
doing
Jennifer.
well.
I do have, just want to remind people that in just 2 weeks, we are going to have the OTA conference over in Bend, and would love to see some of you there. There are going to be a lot of great sessions that are going to be put on. They are only 45 minutes each, so people are going to be speed talking, trying to get all the information in. But it is a great opportunity to learn and grow and the knowledge of the public transportation across Oregon. The other thing that I wanted to update you on, we just got through what seemed like an forever process with the funding for 25-27, but we are going to be starting the 27-29 funding solicitation next year. One of the things that is going to be required from last time, your guys' coordinated health and human services transportation plan had some elements that were missing from it. So it will need to be updated and perhaps an amendment or addendum or appendix added to the end with a listing of projects. So what it'll require is you have a few meetings, public meetings, because you have to have public input. And then you can create that addendum or whatever modifications to your plan. And then you'll have that ready to go when it's time to do your updated plans, your stiff plans, and those kind of things. Just want to make sure to give you a bunch of notice because there is a process with everything that we do here at ODOT. And so wanted to give you plenty of time. And I've been talking with Sherry a little bit about it. To make sure that she's aware of some of the things that we would need to do. And more than likely, you would be able to use your stiff stack committee as that public process body to get through that process. And so Sherry and I have a meeting on Thursday to kind of go over some of the things that I've found as far as updating. Typically, the coordinated plans are updated with consultants. And they can range anywhere from $50,000 to $75,000. But I think that this is something that can be done internally with help. We'll provide the technical assistance and some of the details. And here's the steps you need to take and be able to get that updated. So that is on the horizon. And then the other thing, I'm not sure if you want me to update just my take on the compliance review, or if you want to just wait until that item comes up in the agenda, because I noticed that you actually have an agenda item there. So it's up to you whether you want me to give just a quick update. The only thing that I have currently are exit notes from the compliance reviewer, and those should have been sent to the board this afternoon.
Yeah, Jennifer, if you want to go ahead and do that now, that would be fine.
Okay, great. So overall, I just want to say, your staff worked really hard to try to get the compliance findings from the last. You actually had 2 compliance findings last year. You had this mini one that was financially focused in March of 2024. And then in August, we had that big one that was a complete review that had the 47 findings, which went down to 43 because we kind of combined some. That's a lot of findings. You all got those done. Your staff worked very hard. Sherry, Andre, Selena, Amira, and I know George helped as well. He came into the process when it was already started. So really appreciate all the hard work that they got. This compliance review, there were findings, not 47. So that's a really yay team. The reviewers were really pleased with how much work has been done by the staff and the improvements overall. The main areas that we have, I believe we ended up with 6 compliance findings. 3 of them have already been closed by your staff. So we had an ADA one that was closed, and it was basically updating the website. There was also a Title VI, I think, update. The main ones, though, however, revolve around board management and management in general. So the first finding is under program management, and it says management and board not well informed of current regulations and requirements. I'm not going to go into detail on what each one of those are. You will get a final report in 45 days from the 25th of September. And so probably the end of November, you'll get your review, final report, and then what you have to do to remedy those findings. The second finding, and that first finding was actually a repeat finding. Second finding was financial management, and it had unallowable costs charged to grants in violation of 2 CFR 200, improper expenditures. And specifically, the board has authorized some severance packages for employees when you did not have the funding for those severance packages. So those are some things that the board has to take into consideration going forward. In operations management, just like last time, you guys had 0 findings. So your former operations managers really set your staff up, and Andre and staff did a wonderful job of making sure you had no findings in that area. Use and maintenance of equipment, and so that's like your buses and your facility, no findings. So really thankful for that. Your staff worked really hard on that. I did do a physical inventory of your fleet while I was there, and the fleet is looking good as it can. There are a lot of older vehicles, and your staff has been working to try to get rid of some of those vehicles that are not able to be easily repaired. So I think that they've been able to get rid of several, and then any funding that they receive will go back into a pot to purchase new vehicles. Under procurement, you had a compliance observation, which is a finding. Their sole source procurement that happened back in September of 24 was lacking proper justification for sole sourcing. So that is a repeat finding. There was also a compliance finding for failure to make responsibility determinations prior to letting contracts for over $25,000. And that's under 49 USC 5325J. And the details are in the report that I provided. Civil rights, there were no issues identified. ADA, there was a compliance operation failure to publicly advertise and the procedures for filing an ADA complaint. That's already been remedied, so it won't show up on the final report other than a mention. Another just observation was improper no-show suspension policy. This has already been remedied by your staff, so they've got a policy in place that is going to remedy that. Failure to track trip denials, and they were tracking trip denials, but RLS required them to track them in a different way. And so that's already been remedied as well. You have a new way of tracking those. There was an advisory recommendation, which is not a requirement, but it's best practice to add information on a reasonable modification to your website, and that's already been remedied as well. STIF, no issues as far as handling the finances. And then subrecipient oversight and monitoring. Just wanted an expanded, and this is an advisory, it wasn't an observation, so it was an actual finding. They wanted to expand written procedure for subrecipient monitoring, and it would just help the agency, and that's already been remedied as well. I think Andre already finished that. So those are the findings, not 47, not 43. It was a really, as far as the reviews go, my hope is that you guys will not have to have a review for 3 years. We do a risk assessment every year of the agencies based on several factors, including staff changeover, financial management, board involvement, and things like that. And so when we do that, then it determines who's going to get a finding or who's going to have a review the next year. Because of some of the things that were going on with your board and your finances, that's the reason that you ended up getting a compliance review only 1 year after the previous.
Mhm.
So we will see what happens, as we go forward, but your staff has done a fantastic job. Not one late report over a whole year's period, which we had all late reports in the last
Yes.
compliance review. So just really kudos to your staff for all the work that they've done. Any questions?
For the conversation with the stiff stack committee, is that 3 public meetings to be in compliance? Can you remind me?
For the
Projects.
transportation,
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Coordinated
health plan.
doesn't say a number, it just
Okay.
requires adequate. For the stiff committee, you do have to have at least 2 in a year's time.
Right.
So you could do, as we're looking at updating your coordinated plan, you can utilize the stiff stack and have a stiff stack and coordinated meeting, and then you can take care of your requirement of having at least 2 meetings. And you will be having meetings next year because we're getting into that solicitation, and you're going to be asking them for recommendations towards the STIF funding for the 27-29 year.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Yes.
Anybody else have any questions for Jennifer?
No.
Perfect. All right, thanks, Jennifer.
Yep.
So, financial report, Sherry?
Did everybody get a chance to review the attached financial statements?
Yes.
Okay, I'll go over just a couple of the highlights. As of the end of September, we had a cash balance of $87,418 to start October, which was the new quarter. Not a lot.
Not great.
The financials do include an accrual for the 5311 Q1 reimbursements totaling $158,709, which brought the beginning balance projected total to $246,000 beginning this quarter. We have not received those reimbursements, and I know that we have had discussions with Jennifer and ODOT not to expect federal funding until after January, but apparently there is a strong likelihood that we will get that $158,000.
That number, okay.
We will not see the 5310 most likely, but
Right.
5311, there's a good possibility we will get that. Which is good because the STIF funding came in for Q2 significantly lower than anticipated. The total was $469,143, which is about $81,000 less than what we were projecting.
Was there a reason given for that?
Well, Q1 saw 460,000, so we got a $9,000 increase. However, like Q4, which ended June of 2025, that last quarter, we had 557,000, so, right now, it's not tracking even to be on target with the projections that
And this is before lines were cut.
this is, yes,
Great.
so,
Just want to make sure that we're
yes.
all on the same
Thank you,
page.
guys.
You're welcome. Just want to make sure.
So I have the
We're all
updated, financial projections for this quarter to get us through the end of December. And with the reduced STIF funding, it looks like we were gonna have a shortfall of about 108,000 with that STIF funding coming in much lower. But with the 5311 funding, we get that's 158,000, so we will still be to the good about 50,000.
And we'll know for
And
sure
what-
if we're gonna get that when.
I've already submitted the report and the reimbursement,
Mhm.
and Jennifer, I spoke with her today and she said that she's already approved it and pushed it through. So I don't know, as long as we get it sometime early December, it should carry us.
That was my question,
Yes.
December.
Yes.
That's kind of our breaking point.
And I'm sorry, what was submitted that would be a December payment? What number?
158,700.
Oh, I thought you said that was, we weren't expecting that till January.
No, well, we should not have been expecting that until January, but ODOT has said that there are some funds
Missed
that are
the
available.
page. Thank you.
And we are one of them that is slated.
Thank you for catching that.
Yes, there's a limited amount of 5311 funds.
Got it.
And that doesn't, it's not a January disbursement that we would be drawing from. This is funding that
This
we
is
should have got
funding-
already that,
This is
We're
for
getting
Q1.
early.
This is, July through September, they're Q1 reimbursements. So our federal funds, we get them on a reimbursement. And our STIF funds, we get them up front at the beginning of the quarter, so. So right now, we're doing okay. We have the STIF funding, and if we get that 158,000, which I am anticipating we will. We still will be okay, even with the short fall on the STIF funding this quarter. The team has been continually, trying to identify and implement cost saving initiatives. I did run payroll today, so since July, our payroll per pay period has gone down about $20,000. So, that's like a $40,000, a month,
Mhm.
and on the months that we have 3 pay periods, that's more. So that's good. We'll see about $121,000 savings through the end of December with just payroll. And if we project that through the end. Depending on what happens after the first of the year with funding, if we continue to keep the reductions where they are, it'll be about a $365,000 savings.
And you guys have 26 paychecks?
Yes.
Thank you.
Fuel costs, they've reduced by about $4,000 a month right now with the reduction in service, so that's been good. That's about a $36,000 savings through June. Preventative maintenance, they've been reduced right now by about $3,500 a month. It could be more, you never know, some months have, more repairs and some months don't, so. That's a kind of a projection. Cell phones, we were able to reduce our cell phone bills down by $600 a month.
Wow.
We eliminated some unnecessary vehicle phones. I contacted Scott Chansey out at Grants Pass to find out. We had cell phones in every single bus, which we also have radios in all the buses. So I contacted Scott because I wasn't familiar with it.
Why?
It was really required.
Mhm.
It was a requirement, and he said it was not. And he said as long as our buses have radios and we have the dispatch and all of that, then there would be no need to have that. So and half the time the bus drivers let them, they're not charged, they don't know where they're at, they're in the door. Blah, blah, blah. So we just decided to go ahead and eliminate them. And that was a $600 a month savings, so that through June, that's $5,400.
Yeah.
I mean, every little bit is a savings and we're doing our best to try and trim the fat. Janitorial services, we also went with a new provider just recently, which is about $165 a month savings, but $1,400 through June. Workman's comp, I did contact them because with the layoffs, and then we had some staff that left that we didn't replace. So I asked them to reevaluate our plan,
Mhm.
because it is based off of your payroll. And so they sent me a report that shows about a $12,000 savings.
Wow.
So I should see that probably after January. I might be able to apply that to our last quarter. We only owe 1 more quarter left. Fleet and insurance reductions, we removed, some of the old buses that went to auction and with our Fleetio system, which is where we track all of our preventative maintenance for the vehicles. We removed them from that software and it's about a $3,500 savings, so
It's funny.
chipping away. So I just thought I would share that with you as some of the things that we did come up with. I do have some other suggestions if the board wants to hear them on different things, that the board could consider, if you would like to hear them, I can go over them.
Yes.
The potential savings, yeah.
Yep. So I would start by like an organizational review, evaluate the staffing structure with the possibility of eliminating maybe an administrative position. The retirement plan right now, UPTD puts in 10% of the employee's gross earnings every month. The employees do not have to
Beautiful.
pay anything, so.
It's not a match.
UPTD, there's no match. We put in
Okay.
10%.
Beautiful.
So if we wanted to look at that, and cut that maybe back down to 5% instead of 10,
What would that
Um,
savings be?
it would result in about a $17,000 savings, through December. So.
But I mean, we could even do it incrementally if we did a small reduction.
Exactly. So
Is
just
there an
something-
option for the employees to contribute their own money at that point if we
There
reduce what we're
is,
contributing?
but because of the kind of plan we're on, there's a limit to how much they can put in.
Yeah.
And I wanna
Is
say
it a
it's
rock?
like maybe $8,000 a year. So
Yeah.
I would have to get with our guy at Edward Jones and talk to him and see, but they, they could potentially put in their own. It would just be capped off. We could, right now, we have paratransit and dial-a-ride services. Paratransit's really our priority and really probably amounts to most of our rides at this point anyways, but if we eliminated the dial-a-ride completely, it could be about a $35,000 savings through December, but then that would mean eliminating a driver, possibly. I don't know. We would have to do more background and, we'd have to.
Figure out how, what, do you
Mhm.
know the utilization of the dial ride for if we were to eliminate one? Are you talking about
We
one or
can-
eliminating the whole service?
So in the
Sorry,
board
okay.
packet, we can go over the ridership and
Okay.
kind of show you what percentage is dial-a-ride right now. Fixed route, we could do, additional. Route cuts or, services, we could cut more services to fixed routes.
Mhm.
Not ideal.
Mhm.
I'm just throwing all
Yeah.
of the ideas
Yeah.
out to you.
Real.
So, we could further reduce costs by, cutting back on the fixed route. The realtor did visit today. I think George had set up an appointment with her. She showed up kind of late in the afternoon. She wasn't there for very long. She did tour the facility, downstairs, upstairs, and she did look at the property, and she told me that she would prepare a proposal for the review
Okay.
on what possibly the property could be sold for. If she thinks it would sell, and then if they have, she did say that they currently don't have anybody interested in like renting office space. But she would give us some estimates on what the going rate would be to rent out some office space. So, stand by, more to come on that. Let's see what else I had. I think that if we are, looking at renting space, I think we would probably need to, collaborate with Jennifer and just make sure that because we purchased the building with, I believe it was state funds, Jennifer. If there's any rules, regulations, restrictions on renting that out. When it's federally funded stuff, there's always rules, regulations, and restrictions, so I don't know, what that would look like on the state side, but I believe that we used state funding to purchase the building. So that would just be my recommendation that, once we get that from the real estate, that we collaborate with Jennifer to make sure that we're,
In compliance.
in compliance, exactly. And that's, I think, all I have for the benefit report.
Do you happen to know how much we have in unrestricted funding right now? Funding reserves?
I would have to go in and look, I would say it's probably no more than about 1,000, I would have to go back and look that.
Is that before paying out the total severance or is that after paying out the severance.
No, that's before.
Before.
So I was, when RLS was here, they did bring up the fact that we cannot, on the severance pay, we
Why I
cannot
asked.
use any federal or state funds to cover that, the severance pay.
Mhm.
It has to come out of our unrestricted funds, so.
Awesome.
And then also the charges that were made when they went to DC, so none of those.
The entire
charges-
trip.
the entire trip. So I,
So that in theory is gone.
well, no, that's probably after those, cause I've already.
Oh,
recoded
after the
that.
DC.
Yeah, as soon as I heard
Well,
that with
severance
RLS,
from
I
DC.
Got it.
made sure that those items were not put
Thank
into
you.
anything. So, but I can get you that number on the next one, since I
Thank
know
you.
you'd like to know what that is.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So, any other questions? I know I gave you guys a lot this time. I had to write it all down, so I would not.
So the
forget.
maintenance 30, that went down, what, is that because of the route?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
preventative maintenance will go down because they have to, I think it's, Andre can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's every 5,000 miles, they have to go in and get their oil
Right.
changed and
right.
all of that. So now that we don't have we have one route elimination completely plus Saturday service. So we don't have as many buses on the road, and then some of the routes have been cut back, so they're not having to go in as often.
Makes sense.
And we can, but we have some buses sitting in the yard now because they're not being used, so we can swap them off.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So we should see more of a savings. I just, those are all just kind of projections at this point. We've only been doing it since September the 15th, so we really only had just right a little over a month.
Mhm.
So month over month, we're hoping to see a little bit more of it. Right,
Okay.
that's what I'm saying.
We are rotating the stock as well, because just basically there's a lot of batteries in those vehicles. Some of them are hybrids, some of them are like the diesels have 6 and 8 batteries in them. So we're rotating the stock to keep the batteries charged and everything moving. So we are using less vehicles. We're just kind of circling them in and out of use quite
Yeah.
often.
Perfect.
So this is George. Can I be recognized here for a second?
Yeah, go ahead.
Hey, everybody. Sorry I couldn't make it in. I've been under the weather for the past week. So some things on the financials that I want to make sure everybody understands. Sherry and I have been working on this. There are some difficult financial decisions, and as you can see, Sherry's looked into quite a few things. There's other things that we can get more aggressive on, which is with our insurance of our vehicles. But also understand that, what I would not recommend to the board is looking at more route cuts. We basically are running on bare minimum right now. And understand that there is some other cost savings. So when we look at vehicle usage and we look at vehicle maintenance, yes, we are using less vehicles, and yes, we are still cycling vehicles, but understand we're also still paying insurance on a lot of these vehicles. That if they're sitting there, we need to look at our insurance policy and see what we can actually put in a state of storage, basically. Also understand that in the liability of the vehicles, we also have vehicles that are down and we don't have the money to repair them. And we also have to, with some of the vehicles that we do have, we have to really look at and be careful what is it that we do maintenance, so that way we don't actually have to hold on to it for a lot longer. I know we have one of our vehicles that we have to hold on for a lot longer. It should be trashed, but we can't because we've invested too much money into that. We also have to take into consideration with this financial outlook is that we still have the liability of the chargers. And that's something that ODOT still needs to, send us confirmation on of the payments that we need to make and have them sign off on it. And as a board, you all have to sign off on the agreement too, for the repayment plan of the chargers. So that's something also financially we need to take into consideration. And I would just say, with the staff, the thing is, what you have to understand, I mean, we do all the studies in the world that we want, but we have to look at whether we have one vehicle or 20 vehicles on the road, there's certain things that have to be done. And when we look at our FTE you have to, I know you're gonna put out a position for the CEO position, everything like that, but we really do need to calculate what is the work that needs to be done. Where do we cut? Because the more that we cut on our overhead from our admin costs, the more we can look at how do we balance and ensure that we maintain the benefits that the current employees can still maintain, or do we have to cut that also in combination so that way we can make sure that we have all of our fixed costs and all of our liabilities that we can pay for and pay back. And that's the reason why, as we've talked about before in previous meetings, we're looking at, how do we rent the space out? I've already contacted, the real estate agent as they showed up today. We can look at also, right now I did submit the policy recommendation to RMLS. Excuse me. I submitted the policy for our advertising policy, and so we can get some other monies in the door. I will say that that's going to take a little bit of time. I haven't gotten any feedback back. But what I just want to say in closing is, please, let's not look at reducing routes. We need to look at reducing other expenses, and we need to start making decisions a lot quicker. The decision-making process is taking too long because we don't have anybody sitting at the head. We have to keep running everything by the board as the board is involved in our daily activities now because we don't have somebody sitting at the head. So these decisions needs to start making quicker because we're going to save money. Every day that we don't make appropriate changes, the longer and longer we're incurring that expense that we could be saving to the bottom line.
Just a quick question. So on the vehicles, if one is down or not being used and another one goes down and it needs to be put into service as a backup, if there has to be insurance on it and able to do that,
I
right?
believe if they're federally funded, they probably have to maintain a certain level of insurance anyways. And Jennifer might be able to chime in, but that would just be that would be my thought. Usually federally funded vehicles, they probably require us to carry a certain level, no matter whether they're sitting or
They
being
do.
used.
That is correct. You are
Okay.
required to maintain, just like if you had a vehicle that we're basically like the bank. And so just like any other loan, you do have to have insurance. You are required to provide that insurance to ODOT.
But
Jennifer, does it have
let's
to be full
clarify something
coverage
though,
or
Jennifer.
liability?
For insurance purposes though, for a vehicle, we could still maintain full coverage, but put it in a status of storage. It's still behind a lock gate and things like that. It still maintains.
That
full
would be something that we'd need to double check on the regulations and then also with your insurance agent. The big thing would be that you'd need to have adequate insurance in order to ensure that you could replace that vehicle with another vehicle with your insurance coverage.
Right. And that's even if it's in storage and it burns to the ground while it's in storage or something. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Yeah, and that's something that we can work out through our insurance agent, and we can verify coverages to make sure that it still meets the requirement.
The other thing that you want to consider is that if you have a vehicle that is not in operation for more than 90 days, then that is something that you can either return the vehicles to ODOT or you can sell them if you are allowed to based on your useful life and all of that. But vehicles over 90 days out of service, we don't want to see that because these are vehicles that can be used by other agencies.
And would we get fair market price on those vehicles that are not being used from ODOT?
We don't buy the vehicles. We would help you try to find an agency that might be interested in them.
Okay, perfect.
Which is what we did with a couple of your guys' vehicles, I believe.
Maybe
Time.
2 years ago.
We did that with the ones that were brand new on that grant that we.
Right.
Correct.
And
What the
then-
ones what to read for?
No,
No.
they, The bus that we just received, the new bus, the 30-footer, there, on that grant, there was also a pot of money that was slated for 5 more vans.
Electric
And-
vehicles, right?
Yes,
Mix.
and hybrid,
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
But with all of the funding issues last year, they determined that, one, we didn't need them. Two, we couldn't afford them, and so ODOT found, other people to take them
Purchase them.
because had already been ordered.
Great.
And also too, for the board to take into consideration, as we're gonna be able to provide you with more data here within about a month or so, is that you're gonna be able to see more of the cost savings and things that are gonna come into true picture. But also too, we need to take into consideration the political landscape of state and federal funding. And as we're trying to lean out as much as we possibly can, understand that we shouldn't be looking just towards the end of this year or towards, Q1 of 2026. We really need to look at a funding strategy that gets us all the way through July of next year. Because again, it got approved, the state funding got approved, but it's probably going to get challenged. It's probably going to go to the voters. That money will sit in escrow. We don't know what's going to happen. So we need to be very aggressive with our budgeting. And through that, I think over here within the next couple of months, we'll be able to give you a better idea of what that's going to look like and for you to probably approve a new budget going into 26.
Yeah, so OTA had a board meeting a week ago or so, and they were saying that the package, yes, it passed through the House and Senate, but that it was probably going to end up going to a vote to the people. So they said even if they start collecting on any of the taxes and all of that beginning in January, those funds would be held in an escrow account and would not be affected until the vote of the people came through, and they were not anticipating that will happen not until November of next year. So
So you're looking at January of 27.
Jennifer has her hand up.
Go ahead, Jennifer.
Thanks. And I did send some information to transit providers, and I believe Sherry, Andre, maybe Selena got it as well. But it basically gives an overview of what the referendum is, as far as here's the steps that happen with the referendum. So if you have any questions about that, there is some information that Sherry or I can send to you later as well.
and then there is a grant, and Jennifer, I have not talked to you about this, but I did see the information you sent me on the grant for the veterans.
Correct.
So you and I can talk about that later in the week when we have our meeting, but I was wondering if we would qualify for that and with any of the programs that we currently are doing. We do have the veteran ride free, so I don't know if that would. we would
Yeah,
be
it
able
could
to-
actually, I mean, it could offset the free rides for the veterans. So if you kept track of those rides, then you would be able to utilize that funding. So that is something that definitely I would look into and apply for.
I'll
Does
do
that
the
funding-
letter of, I'll probably Thursday, we'll discuss it a little more, and then I can do the letter of intent. So that might be a possible federal grant that we.
For veterans, what does that usually run?
I don't know what we would end up getting out of it, that's all to be determined, but.
Yeah, typically agencies have been getting about $50,000 to $75,000 for a 2-year period for the veterans programs.
Okay.
It's not huge, but it's,
Helps.
so, yeah.
Do you know what we bring in from payroll tax right now? Not off the top of your head, but
It's 80,000, I think, a quarter.
so if that goes into play, it'd be 160,000. I sort of.
Jennifer, is the payroll tax is the smaller of the two on the stick, right? That comes
No,
through?
the population is the smaller, or
Oh, okay, so
population is smaller, the payroll is the larger.
okay, I always get them mixed up. So the population that we got this time was like 360 some thousand, I think, somewhere around there.
Population is the 60, she's saying, right?
Population is the 80.
80, sorry.
And that
So-
one's pretty, that one's always consistent, like we always get that much.
Yeah, because we have the same amount of
Yeah.
life births and deaths
And then
every
the other
year.
one
Yeah.
fluctuates, so this time it was. Yeah, 300.
For the first time
Yeah,
in
for the
5
first
years.
time in 5 years,
Yeah.
we have more death than we have had live births.
Yeah,
I was
that's
not just being
exciting.
facetious.
Also great news. We're
It's
just
like 380
full, we're just
sometimes.
full of great news.
Yeah, we're-
Okay, so I'm
So that
sorry,
would
so
double it.
380 would go,
I'd say about 300. on
A
that.
quarter?
A quarter. So that would
And that
double it.
funding is based on the payroll tax. So if jobs
Right.
go down, then the money goes down, which is part of the
right,
reason the money went down this time. And then also, processing. But I'm not supposed to, processing.
and one more question about that. So if this goes into effect 1/1, will we see that money in March?
No.
When will we see
So
that?
more than likely, the earliest that if it doesn't, the referendum doesn't go through, then the earliest you would see it would be July 1. That's,
Okay.
hopeful, it would be July 1. My estimate would be October 1st. So,
Okay, that's what I wanted to know. And if the referendum goes through, it pauses this tax until the vote occurs.
correct.
Thank you. Just so that everybody's aware. Yay,
Um,
I don't have any.
I wasn't asking, but thank you.
And just
I was,
to make mention of the amount of the tax, I mean, it is 1/10 of 1%. Typical folks will pay about $60 a year for that. Now with the increase, it'll be about 60, depending on what your wage is, of course. I think mine is close to 120 is what it would be, but so yeah, 1/10 of 1%.
I don't think that's the sticking point for most people. It's just further.
we need a motion to accept.
Okay,
the
motion to accept the
financial
financials as written.
Second.
Seconded?
Uh,
So,
I think we've already done all the discussion, but is there any more discussion? Okay. All in favor? Wait, did you?
No, just
have
aye.
something? Oh,
Hi. Just fine.
any opposed? Okay. I was looking at what we did, so it'd be public comment on agenda items only. Do we have any public comment on agenda items? Okay.
Oh,
Did
wait,
you have
did you
Oh,
say
go ahead.
not an agenda?
No, agenda item.
on agenda?
Oh, so sorry, so sorry.
I'm sorry. Do we have people here that are gonna comment on not on agenda items? Okay. Oops, I must have joined again, sorry.
You're good. Do you want to move something?
Well, I'm trying to decide, so.
We already did 9.2.
9.1. We did 9.1.
Oh. no, we
Jennifer
didn't do
did it.
9.1 yet.
Oh, did you have more to add to?
No, it was mostly for information only, so we had our FY 23-24, we got a letter from ODOT. Saying that they, received the audit and that we had we had some items that we needed to do a corrective action plan on. And I submitted that, so we got the second letter from them saying that they received it and we were closed out, so it was just an FYI for the board.
Done.
And we'll have the final report, they said 45 days from,
On RLS?
Yeah.
That's a separate, so the 9.1 is our annual audit.
Oh,
that gets
I'm sorry.
done through our financial auditor.
Okay.
Our next audit will be due, for the 24-25 fiscal year that just ended in June. That will be due by December 30th.
Okay.
So I do have a meeting with the auditors scheduled for June the 5th, that's coming to be on site, so.
What date?
June 5th. Or November 5th.
Like none of those dates.
Sorry.
November 5th, okay.
Not June.
That worked.
November 5th, they will be on site to, start So I've already been uploading all the documents that they require for the audit, so they're just coming out, to be on site and ask for any additional information that they need.
Is anything to add to 9.2?
I don't think so. Jennifer covered the RLS audit, so.
Beautiful.
Old business 10.1 driver safety, Mary?
Just a quick update, so, during the last board meeting, the contact that I had reached out to, I just, I don't think he has it in his schedule, allowing us or to come to the, office and train. So our, ODOT, Jennifer, she provided some really helpful resources of de-escalation classes, and, YouTube actually offers one, it's called Assault Awareness and Prevention for Transit Operations. I had emailed that to Andre and Selena and told them once we get all the drivers trained on pass, we're trying to, get that in, then we can start working on this de-escalation training, so.
Craig couldn't do it.
No, well, I mean, he didn't technically say no, but I've reached out, I think 4 times now. I made contact one time and he said, in the next couple of months.
Yeah, maybe do it. He's going through the retirement thing,
Okay,
so he was gone for like a month.
Okay.
Yeah,
regardless, I mean, whether he can,
Yeah.
come to the office or this other training force online, it's,
yeah,
There's also
the
something
verbal
like
word
that
or
too.
judo, there's also NRA plus one out too.
pardon.
NRA plus one out as well.
Okay, good to know. Thank you.
Do anybody else have any questions on that? So under new business, we have working remotely,
I would defer that to George.
George?
Yeah, so I think with working remotely, it's all gonna be tied into the real estate transaction, which, looking at one, if we can relocate everybody to the bottom floor or to the top floor, that's really gonna determine what the market conditions are and what people are looking for. I would think, just personally, I haven't had the conversation with the real estate agent yet, but we did briefly talk about the upper floor probably being more enticing to rent out the space. And on the bottom floor, we do have a lot of space now that we've been able to move a lot of old equipment out. Of course, the big tie up in like our garage currently right now is still the chargers that are in the way. And then we can look at, I created a matrix so that way we can determine how people would be able to qualify to remote if they qualify in order to remote. And then really looking at the floor plan of people that would have to be, no matter what, people have to be there, like the drivers and things like that. We have to have certain supervisors there to have eyes on the drivers due to drug and alcohol, and then other administrative staff, whether there's just drop-in desk or not. So it's still in the very beginning phases, but we have started to craft up some policy and also looking also at the real estate side to see how much money we can actually make and what is beneficial, because the space is quite large and we're pretty spread out there. I definitely believe that we can generate some revenue through that office space, but remote work will be determined based off of that market analysis.
And how does that work with the amount of parking that's utilized currently for buses and stuff? Like even if we have less staff on site, do we have enough parking to accommodate being able to rent out those spaces?
Yeah, right now parking is an issue, but I think we have to look. I think we would have to really, once there's an option on the table, we can get really aggressive with how do we currently use the space. I mean, we use the space currently the way it's designed because that's the way the lines are on the ground. But if we have different options, then we'll have to look at redesigning what that parking space looks like. We also need to take into consideration we do have the downtown office too that can hold staff too, and we can look at how we can utilize that downtown office to relieve some of the parking space there at the building. So Like I said, early stages, but we just don't have enough information yet to like fully dive into a plan that we would recommend.
Yeah, I was more concerned about the vans that are required, that currently park up top, like. If I'm an organization wanting to rent that top location, I'm wanting that entire top tier for rent, for vehicles.
Parking.
Yep.
Okay, okay. Okay.
Do anybody else have any questions about the remote options? It sounds like it's a lot in the discovery phase right now and we won't know more till later.
That's right.
Lobbying and board bylaws, Sherry?
So based off of RLS's audit, and their statement that the expenses for the BC trip having to be coded to our unrestricted funds. It would be my recommendation that we go back to the old bylaws that did not have the lobbying content. That was recently added. And it was never there before, and just based off of our financial situation. I don't think we really could have anybody lobbying that works for CPTD. You also have to be registered with, like the ethics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People as a lobbyist, and then I have to do a quarterly report when you spend money.
Great.
Which was very difficult this last time because I didn't have everything that I needed. So. Convoluted report and it's not happy with. You know, I just didn't have access to, I didn't get all my questions answered and. So I did the best that I could, but, if we change the bylaws, I have already removed Ben as a lobbyist for UPTD. If we remove that language, I would have to contact, them and have Michaela removed because
Okay.
she's also.
Listed.
Registered as a lobbyist for us.
I had a couple. Sorry, no, go ahead.
I just wanted to know, is there a requirement to have the address listed in our bylaws for where the meeting is, or can we just say that the meeting is held this date at this time and not have an address listed? Cause what happens if we decide to,
To change it.
or we've talked about like
It
going,
right.
kind of being all over Douglas County throughout the,
I don't know the answer to that
Okay.
question. We can definitely find out. For now, I would suggest that we change it to this location just because we've had an address in there in the past, but we can definitely research that and have an
I
answer.
like
for
saying
you.
Douglas County, Oregon.
I don't know if Jennifer knows if there's a requirement to have an address listed, or if we just on our agenda, if we have the
It's
address
just,
and the public notice, if it has the
Yeah.
address, if that's not.
You shouldn't need it in the bylaws. You should be able to just put in a general, yeah, and then you would put it on the agendas because you might want to move it to a different location here and
Yeah.
there so that you can get around and
Exactly.
see other people.
Okay.
Think
So we
you
can just
just,
write
just
that.
third Monday at 5:30 PM.
And then we just highlighted and struck out the verbiage that was added that was not there before. And I think that was not all of it. Yes.
So it sounds like based on the audit and just some other things that have occurred, having that in our bylaws potentially opens that for liability, correct?
Absolutely does.
And then as far as. I mean, I know the distinction personally, but when you're talking about somebody lobbying, there's a difference between somebody attending and giving testimony and going to talk to someone specifically about something directly related to a policy and the board. This is different. So it's not limiting us for being an advocate for the transportation
Right.
district. This would just be limiting actual lobbying practices. Okay.
Well, I would, so it's not very cut and dry. I mean, it is, if anybody from the organization goes to represent and testifies, then that is considered a lobbying action.
No,
Mhm.
no, that's public comment. I specifically reached out to the ethics committee because of my real life. I testify quite a bit, and I was informed by the ethics committee that as long as I testified straight to, testified straight, it wasn't meeting specifically with legislators one-on-one, that's not considered lobbying.
So there was a report that was due by this organization on its lobbying efforts. And so I was named as the person that was responsible for this report. I was not made aware that I was listed as this entity. And so I contacted them and I asked them and I said, well, one, I didn't even know there's an actual system that you have to go into. I don't have access to that. It's something that Ben had created. And so my understanding was prior to Ben's departure, he took care of it. I had a conversation with him because a report needed to be submitted for Michaela. And then I never heard anything back from it again.
So Ben contacted them and gave them my information, and then I've been doing the reports.
Okay. I
Since
wasn't
I
aware.
have all the financial information.
Okay, so I wasn't aware about that. But when I was talking to the person that is the one that conducts the audits, he said, if you guys were to testify, then that would be considered a lobbying and you guys would have to register. And so I think we need to get clarification of
Yeah.
this organization and as a special district, if we do, and who does it, needs to be aware of it. But whoever is going to be listed on that, I think should be responsible for it. But I agree with Sherry 100%. I think we should take that off. I don't think we should be labeled as lobbyists or participate in that.
No,
As long as we can advocate, but let's make sure that in our advocacy, we're not being listed as
Right.
now violating something.
So George is right, he apparently was listed and I think Ben didn't give them the right address, email address, and so George was not receiving, the emails. And by the time he got me involved, we had like a $400, penalty.
Awesome.
But I spoke with the ethics, gentleman and he told me that I could submit and ask for a waiver.
Oh,
Since
great.
it was our first time, and so I did that, and I did get confirmation that they waived it, so we only had to
Nice.
pay the regular fee. Not the penalty, cause it's like every day that it's late, it's penalized so
yeah.
much. And it had amounted up to like over $400, so, that has been all rectified and the reports have been submitted on time now. I just submitted first quarter because that was the one that was just due, so.
Okay.
That's been finished, but it would still be my recommendation to remove that language and, remove that responsibility from EPTB for liability. Okay.
Motion to approve bylaws with lobbying information strict and address removed.
So made.
Any discussion? All those in favor of striking the lobbying from the bylaws as well as the address information? Say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? I keep using this for notes, it was in this fault. So project updates. George, project
Good.
management and advertising.
Yeah, we don't have any real updates right now. We have been working on the advertisement, like I said, on the policy. And also too, I've been working on I'm sorry. Oh my God, I'm sorry. I can't think of the word I'm looking for. I apologize. I'm looking at creating a media kit for the advertisement currently right now. We have two that are currently in the pipeline. We've had them in the pipeline for some time now. We're waiting on Amira to finalize those projects. But I am creating sort of a cost matrix right now with being able to maintain our current vendor that we currently have right now and be able to generate some revenue depending on how each bus is sold and how each panel is split into creating additional revenue. As far as projects, I don't have any updates on the projects, but actually one project, which is the chargers. So the chargers continue to be a problem with being able to find anything to do with them. I did make a national contact with a battery vendor. So I decided to work the problem from the other angle. And so they simply told me the reason why we will continue to have problems right now is because one, we're not a trusted vendor. It's like basically
Mhm.
buying, $258,000 worth of chargers from Facebook Marketplace, because who are we? We're not going to warranty them. There is still a warranty because we haven't broke the seal, but that has to
Mhm.
all go through like verification, things like that. So we're not trusted in the field if we go outside of, regular government, working with Jennifer, try to offload them to another special district. They said that they were looking at seeing if they would buy the chargers from us and that they would sell them on the open market.
Hmm.
So they had an initial offer, which is not great, I will tell you, but it's $60,000 for all the chargers, plus they would cover the cost of shipping. And so, again, not very much, way far from 258,000. But also to take into consideration the agreement that we have with ODOT, which I believe on a quarterly basis, we need to pay ODOT, Sherry,
20,000.
20,000 every quarter.
So that covers 3 quarters.
So, and then at the end of that, we would look at our STIF funding to be able to pay off the remainder of the balance. And so just something to think about. If we don't take this option, then we still owe the 20,000 each quarter.
Mhm.
And then we're still sitting with the chargers in the garage with nothing to do with them. And the older that they get, the less
Yep.
we're going to want them. If we get rid of them, then we have 60,000. We can pay back ODOT. We don't have to. We can get them out of our garage. We could actually use that space for something else. And then we pay off the remainder of the funds with our STIF funds for next year in 26.
Mhm.
So 2 options, but that's the only headway that I've had with trying to get these chargers out of here.
So can they just be sold like that, or does it have to be put out to allow anybody to bid on? Because they're public property now, correct?
They're public property.
So can we do that, or is there a separate process we have to go through?
So I would think that we would have to go through our own procurement process because it's such a large dollar amount, but I'd have to confirm with Jennifer on on selling. I mean, we usually are purchasing something, not selling an asset like that. So I would think that we'd have to. I don't see anybody that would probably go to it, but before we go out to procurement and put it out for $60,000 or 100,000, what would the board like to do? Would they like me to go out to procurement, put it out there? We could put it for an open-ended amount, and then whoever is the winner, which it might be this company, and they put it through, or we get the highest bidder. But that's something that we can look at doing. But right now, through an extensive, exhaustive process, myself and even Andre, and he's former electrician, we have not been able to find anybody that is willing to entertain brokering or selling these systems.
Well, maybe we could try to, contact one of the local, like, hotels that are going up here in town and see if they were gonna put in charging stations, but,
That's Cow Creek. Or which one? You're talking about the other side
Like doing it.
that you're talking about
yeah.
here.
I would say that I've contacted like grocery stores like Fred Meyer's because they have charging stations, and those are a lot of those Fred Meyer charging stations are just outdated. They're not interested in replacing those chargers. A lot of other places, like I've contacted like Charge America and other ones, and Blink. The problem is that right now with their infrastructure, because there is no more tax rebates or anything like that, they're not looking at purchasing. any major equipment. And they
Right.
wouldn't, and
Market
they wouldn't
down.
purchase from us because of the fact that we're not a
Because,
trusted
because
vendor.
we're not trusted.
They were not purchased with federal funds, so
Okay.
there are not federal fund requirements
Okay.
or rules or regulations, but they were technically purchased with state.
Still stuck. Okay, thank you. Well, I don't have a question now. That was my question.
So I think first we need clarification on if there is any strings attached to being able to just
So,
sell. And then decide from there, but I mean. It's still $190,000 loss. But
that's a house.
I'm not here, it's not.
A little more.
Yeah.
You know, the thing is, you can look at it two ways. Like I said, we can hold on to them and see what we can do with them at a later time. Even if we hold on to them for a later time, I've had conversations like with the NEPA team and Jennifer, and we've talked about being able to use these chargers. It would be tricky, but
Mhm.
there is some little bit of workaround to be able to do it, so we would be able to use it. But it is difficult. We would have to say certain things in order for that to happen, but it's complicated. It really is, because this is in violation of NEPA. Any other future potential federal funds, it's going to be very hard for us to implement that.
Yeah, and someone could not use their federal funds to purchase them from us because we're not a.
We're not a trusted vendor.
How many chargers do we have?
3.
No.
And understand, we've hold on to this liability now for over 2 years.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
And the chargers they're in two parts, so they have and Andre can probably speak better to this because he speaks the electrician lingo. But part of it is like a charging unit that is
Station.
universal.
Yeah,
That could be used for many different applications. And then you have the dispensers that are the actual, what would it hooked up,
right,
and it communicates to the bus.
right.
So. We've even talked about, could we split them up? Could we get someone that would just be interested in those charging units? That could be used for anything? Or, could we find someone that had one of their dispensers damaged? Maybe someone pulled away with the hose hooked up and it, broke the pedestal.
We don't have a lien on these, do we? Because we owe the money, okay.
Do we make a motion that says we follow whatever our opposite of procurement policy is?
I think we probably should get information from them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll reach out and find out what that looks like. And if it's the route that we have to go to procurement, then I'll go ahead and create the procurement.
I just don't want another RLS finding because we didn't do this right.
Oh, yeah.
We'll figure out the right process. But like I said, if the route is that we have to create a procurement process, then I'll create the procurement process and present it to the board.
Does Andre have anything to add? He might be able to shed some light to the board on anything. He probably doesn't have anything more to add.
Okay, yeah, just kind of give you a little heads up on the chargers. The charging unit, the DC converters can charge up to 4 small vehicles per each one. We have a total of 3 DC converter chargers that work in a combination. Each one of those DC converters can charge up to two large buses or 4 small vehicles. So that was kind of the demise that I've been looking at, is trying to find a vendor that's willing to, like, possibility with Winston, they're going to completely redo the shopping center right there where Sunrise is, and maybe they may want to put a charging system out there that they could use. One charging system could charge up to 4 Teslas, 4 Rivians, whatever vehicles you want to put on there. They would just have to, with the charger, they would just have to install a dispenser from the charger to be where they can make money off the dispenser. Because
Mhm.
currently the ones we have, they're depot dispensers, and they're just designed for a bus barn or for a large city facility where they just plug in, they're not paying for it. But that, with the DC converters, they can be put into any application you want to.
Right, yeah. Do you wanna have anything not on agenda?
I have one thing. And that is, I can't,
Scared.
yes, I'm trying to be fast. Um, I can't find record that the board ever voted on the new, logo,
Branding?
and just to be honest, it's confusing to me. So I just wanted to know if there's a reason that we can't, cause we're gonna have to pay to rebrand every bus station, the door, like, all these things. I don't think we have any money to do that. So can we just stop it?
Well, if we never, did we add it to anything other than letterhead?
No, our front door, yeah,
Um,
up there, but none of the buses have been rebranded, none of the filters, the signs, nothing.
So that's an expense we don't have.
Yeah.
Temporarily halt any new branding until we're in a better fiscal position.
Is that the
You put
motion?
it up.
Is that what,
Yeah.
we've all held that up? I mean, is it on hold or was that something coming through with the?
Has anything been done?
Has anybody done with that?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Make a motion that we pause the rebranding until we're more financially secure.
Yeah, sounds good.
Any
So
discussion?
can I get clarification on that, please?
Yeah.
So when
Yeah.
you're talking about rebranding, so we weren't moving forward with rebranding everything all at once, right? It was gonna happen in like a phased approach of rebranding, like our website is rebranded, business cards are rebranded. There's current things that are currently up. So as we move forward, what would the board, I mean, by your decision here, I need clarification of how do we move forward in the operation when we talk about our email addresses, our business cards, the logos on the employees' jackets, on now advertising for buses and things like that. So as we're going to be moving into this advertising space, what does that mean? Do we keep the old logo? Do we move and transition to the new logo as money allows? Can you clarify what your decision is?
So is it on the uniforms?
It is. It does say on the uniform, but that's just a patch, and so we could probably have them change it out at some time.
So email signatures, business cards.
Business cards, yeah, they did organize business cards for everyone, but I think we all still have business cards with, I haven't gone through all of those either.
There's a thousand.
So we'd basically be looking at, you said they're patches, are they like a Velcro patch or a stitch on or iron?
Just an iron.
Okay. Do we still have the old branding logos, the patches and stuff?
So the
Well, I just
jackets
have to
are
send
also,
them.
don't forget
I
the
have to send
jackets. We
the
just spent a
pat-
lot of money on jackets and those are all embroidered.
Okay.
Yeah, the jackets, yeah, but they're winter jackets, so they.
So basically, if we just put it on hold where it is now. If you're saying that there's previous business cards or haven't been used, then as they run out, we wouldn't need to necessarily order any with the new logo, and it would just be people operating with the jackets they have now until new ones were purchased down the road, and then
Yes.
it would mean changing the branding on the website and everybody's email signatures, correct?
Yeah, that's very.
So those two don't
have
have a
access
cost.
To the website and we have access to the signatures and so.
So as far as like confusion in the logo and everything the way it is, it's kind of gonna be the same because it's
Yeah.
already on some stuff and not on other stuff.
We have more stuff with the old branding than we do with the new branding.
There we go.
So I would say if we have more stuff with the old branding than we do with the new, we probably just support anything that is not a cost associated to it, reverting back to the old logo. And then anything that would be a cost, we just let it phase out until we get there. So you
So
can figure
I
out.
have a recommendation for the board to consider is, because this is a little bit confusing. So why not vote first on the logo design that was that is currently being used. If you all decide that you do not approve of the logo design, then we just go back and refer to the other one instead of saying that you're putting a hold on rebranding.
Okay, motion to revert back to old logo.
Second.
Is any further discussion? Okay, all in favor of reverting to the former UPTD logo?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. Did we have anything else not on agenda? Perfect. Public comment not on agenda items?
I am just curious, and maybe you've covered it, and I apologize coming in late, but the first meeting that I ever attended, we talked about advertising on the buses. I'm interested in advertising on the bus. So who do I talk to? How do I get that going? Other communities that are also publicly funded accept advertising. So how does that work?
I think we're still in the process of creating the actual policy to be able to implement that. And so that has to be approved first through ODOT, right?
Yeah, I would, maybe give your email to Amira and then we can contact you once we have. The advertising policy, that's been reviewed and approved from ODOT and then. Yeah, we can,
Okay. By that time, end of enrollment will be over and I won't be interested for another year. So now is my time.
Yeah.
So I tried to start this 3 or 4 months ago, so I was really hoping that we could get it going.
Another,
I'll be
a fellow insurance agent.
Sure.
How long do you have before you need to know?
It's now.
It's now.
2
It's
weeks
now.
Now?
Yeah.
It ends December 7th.
Yeah, it's 2 weeks ago,
No.
Exactly. Thank you.
honestly.
I, for once, was not behind the 8 ball in my request. For once.
Do we have? Oh, and you state your name, but yeah, will you state your name too?
Do I sit here or do I have to sit
You
there?
can sit
You can do
there.
whatever you.
My name is Donna Snowell Smith. And I am the chair of the Stiff Gap Committee. And I have had some concerns ongoing since last October, November. I personally believe I welcome all of you as our new board. I think that always getting new blood in and new ideas is really good. Hopefully those of us that from before, we can continue to work together. And I believe the way to do that is open transparency, communication should go up and down and side to side like a cross. And that's how I handled my soldiers in the military for 35 years. It's how I was as a nurse. I have both a medical and finance background in the military as well as outside. I have a letter here. Both Ashley Hicks, who is my co-chair of the Stiff Gap Committee, I absolutely think she's awesome. She has a background in not being afraid to stand up here in Roseburg when she saw concerns and they tried to shut her down because they didn't want full transparency. And they'll call people that are outspoken, as being divisive or confrontational. We're not. I think there's, as my general told me, General Kobayashi told my husband and I, in our unit, the 91st Division, there's no stupid question. And if people start to get upset with you for trying to ask those hard questions, and that we should not be afraid to ask those questions as long as we present it in a professional way and not as an attack. Okay, so my letter is this. And I had a little bit of help with this. A couple of people who also happen to be in my family are also on that committee as volunteers. One of them is a disabled 32-year-old adult and has used the bus quite a bit. My husband and I are both veterans. We don't use the transportation. We have a lot of veterans that live up where we live in the Highlands Vista that actually will go down to Chevron and get on the buses. And it's the only way they can get into town. And my dad was at Eagle Landing for 2 years on the VA campus and he used the Dial-A-Ride. And he was 90+ years old, and if it hadn't been for Dial-A-Ride, he couldn't have gotten out and gotten the shopping, things that he needed, so it was a wonderful benefit for him. My name is Donis Noel Smith. I am the chair of the STAT committee, reviewing monies going in and out of the UPTD, Umpqua Public Transportation District. And with a team of others making recommendations or suggestions to the executive board and how best to fiscally use those funds from grants or other sources. As a former member of a finance board for a school district here locally, and having during my 35 years in the military with a medical and finance background, I understood the need to be responsible and have honesty and transparency with all monies. That is also making sure we have the public trust. I had experienced a couple years back with the former CEO when he was running as a candidate way up north for a public office. He had made it clear he was going to run again this last year, but he had few funds and his quote unquote jobs in the community appeared to be lacking of those monies he needed. I was concerned when I saw he was quote temporarily unquote hired to drive a good 3 hours to Roseburg to conduct UPTD business. When I became the chair, I could not reach him but one time in almost a year. He was at one point yelling and cussing at another person about something unrelated and hung up on us. I understand he has done this around many in public on and off the job. This reflected poorly on us and the community volunteers trying to work with him. When I questioned what I felt were questions that were pertinent to a possible conflict of interest, I was shut down by some former board members of another committee. This was because I had heard last year, right after I became the chair, that he was hired, but he had told more than a couple that he had, quote, no intention of staying very long, unquote. I wrongly assumed he had signed a contract then at the end of 2024. I watched and listened, which is what I learned in the military to do. It's you watch, you listen, you ask questions later. I then saw smoke, and then I suspect was fire. I hear he went to Washington, D.C. with a UPTD credit card. What was accomplished by himself or George? Question mark. What receipts were produced to account for any use of said two credit cards over the last 9 months? And what were the results, if any? Were they used for non-UPTD matters, conferences unrelated, or Uber or Lyft, or for political donations to other causes for him and or the end the vote by mail? Question mark. We rarely saw him or George in the office. They were both unreachable, could not reach them for input or advice. I just discovered under the FOIA public records request this morning. Both Ashley Hicks, my co-chair, and I submitted last week and this week for the FOIA. I feel that is our responsibility and also to uphold the public trust. And I believe in full transparency, no matter how uncomfortable it may be for one or all. I just discovered under FOIA public records request that Mr. Edel had signed the contract in April of 2025. Long after he had hinted and stated he would not be with us for very long. The person who helped him secure this contract is a partner with him in other areas, primarily the end vote by mail, that most of us all have supported. She and her team also need funds to make this ballot measure happen. Mr. Edel, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, has been talking nonstop for over 1.5 years, his intention to run for a public office, but needed funds from somewhere else to help him achieve this. This had been public knowledge for a long time. I am concerned about the conflict of interest and possible nepotism that seems to be popping up, question mark. From December 2024 to August, I made many trips into the office, primarily when I heard he was coming down. He was only there one time, and I heard him yelling at a contractor, question mark, and cussing. I left in a hurry as I had experienced this with him and others and did not want to be attacked myself. I tried to reach out to Michaela last spring and was accused of wanting favoritism because I had given money for the use of a lawyer in another case and was concerned about Mr. Edel's connection through his candidate PAC, which is basically it's a
Policy action.
action committee, yes. And his was called the Red Pack,
Mhm.
which Michaela has called hers now that. Mr. Edel's connection to his candidate PAC that he created up north. Michaela and her group were basically calling their new PAC the same thing. My $1,000 was not going to be used for what our group had intended, and my asking too many questions, and because of my husband's concern about Mr. Edel and his pursuits, it was unceremoniously returned promptly with a warning by another group member that we were no longer welcome. We were accused of asking too many questions and being, quote, divisive, unquote, and confrontational, quote unquote. Suddenly, Mr. Edel, after a nice trip to Washington DC, comes back in less than 4 months into a signed contract. Does the very thing he had threatened for just under a year, to quit the UPDD with $65,000 severance pay, according to the FOIA and the records I asked for. Our concerns are thus, number one, the possible misleading us and the UPDD when George and Ben Edel were temporarily hired. Two, why was he stating months before he signed the April 2025 permanent contract that he, Mr. Edel, quote, would not, unquote, be around long, that he would mostly likely walk. Three, many of us on the Stiff Stack Committee had no idea when we volunteered to support our community's interest and support ODOT and the UPDD that this was transpiring, or we would have asked more questions prior to April of 2025. And rightfully so. Four, how were the credit cards of both Ben and George used, and why no receipts for all uses and receipts with dates and time stamped, even currently? Signed Donis Noel Smith, Chair of the Stiff Stack Committee, UPTD, J.C. Smith, and Justin Davis Committee.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's what I asked for a call. Thank you very much.
And thank you for listening.
Yeah, thank you.
Do we have any other public comment? Right, so other than the agenda build, which we will do prior to the next meeting offline.
The DOT ridership.
So. Ridership numbers. They're terrible. Yeah, apparently I can't read in order.
Thank you for listening.
So I met with Crystal, over the past couple of weeks and asked her if we could maybe, change just the overall, appearance of the reports to make them maybe a little more friendly for you guys to understand. Since you're all sitting in the transportation, and I thought that the bar graph was kind of, confusing.
Yeah, this is clear.
Yeah, so, we decided to go with a pie chart. And as you can see, under the commuter and fixed route, the Roseburg fixed route is 78% of our ridership. Winston is 10%. And Sutherland is 7%, and then the other was the South County commuter, which has now been eliminated. But that was 5% of the ridership. Overall, she compared September of 2024 to September of 2025. And of course, the fixed route, the Roseburg route, has gone down 1,500 rides.
Is that Saturday?
It's gonna be Saturday service and then some of the
Adjustments.
Yeah, the adjustments that are made.
Okay.
So, but I would say mostly Saturday service.
Okay.
Is a good portion of that. The Winston commuter actually has seen an increase, which before we on a downtrend. But since we adjusted the routes at the beginning of the fiscal year, you okay? You'll get some water.
Yeah.
He's still breathing.
Okay.
I'm listening for.
Okay.
Just falling down the road.
That's how you see me, panic. He's like,
Okay, just checking. So historically, over the past year, it's kind of been going down, but then when we did away with the South County via Winston, and then we had just the South County route, the direct, and then we
Thank you.
had the Winston route, we've actually seen some ridership pick up.
Okay.
So I think there was some confusion with the South County via Winston and the Winston. And I think now that's, you know, it's been more cut and dry for them. So we have seen an increase of 9% there. The Sutherland commuter has also been on a historical decrease a little bit for the last year. Our ridership was up for a while and then it's just kind of trickled off. Winston and Sutherland, we had a few adjustments, but overall, we're not really seeing much of a difference with them.
Okay.
And then, of course, the South County was eliminated, so that's gonna have a big decrease. On the demand response side of the house, paratransit, as you can see, is 73% of our ridership. The dial ride right now is 8%, so we were talking about a possible elimination of dial rides.
Right,
So-
and do we have a reason why the numbers have changed? Cause it was paratransit and dial ride kind of even, and
It-
now it's totally.
It was, and so last year when we converted the Winston and Sutherland routes from
Dial ride.
fixed route back to
Yes.
commuter route,
Yeah.
that made the
Sure.
transit area smaller.
Ah,
And right now, with the amount of drivers that we have, our paratransit rides are.
Taking
it's a
priority.
Guaranteed ride.
It's taking
We have to
priority.
Try to make space for them.
got
And
it.
if we can't, then we have to have a good reason why. And then we have to report that. So right now, with the amount of drivers that we have, paratransit is just taking precedence really over the dial rides. The dial rides end up getting bumped, you know,
Yeah.
to schedule them. And then if a paratransit calls in and says, hey, I need a ride, you know, tomorrow afternoon or
Yeah.
next day. And there's a dial ride and we have to try and figure out how to get them a ride with the.
Yep.
So yeah, there's gonna be there has been a big shift and a big decrease. Our Sunshine Park, that was, when they put those, new
Mhm,
apartment
mhm,
complex in. We set up, to have the bus pick up there to get, kids to school or whatever. We had a lot of ridership at the beginning and
Yeah.
it has just trickled off.
It's just not
Yeah,
there.
it's just not there. And then the Reed
Reed Sport.
Sport, of course, September of 2024. Was when we did not have a contract in place.
Yeah.
And everything was kind of paused with them for a while, so that's the big increase with them. So if you guys like the pie charts, we
Yeah.
will definitely keep doing the pie charts. I think for me, it's easier to look at and to kind of, to see how
Agreed.
much of the ridership is in what categories.
And-
And then there's just some additional information on a monthly basis. And then I also included this time on the non-emergency, the NEMT. We weren't showing like we were just showing our rides before, but I have added in the income and the expenses for that program so that you can see that we are still profiting with that. Last year, we did away with the wheelchair portion of the NEMT, which were our drivers and our vans, because we were losing too much
Yeah.
money. So at this point, for Q1, we did have a $17,000 profit, so that's part of our unrestricted funds that we.
And this is Bay Cities,
This
who
is
then
Bay City.
subcontracts out.
Who then subcontracts out, and they also are feeling the pinch of all of these funding cuts. They've been told that they have to limit the rides to certain places now. So they did put out a letter that said that, you know, these types of rides are going to be, they're gonna be less.
Right.
Yes,
Ah.
and like grocery trips, store trips and things like that are gonna be like that.
Is that because of a lack of drivers or did they?
No,
fund
this
that?
is a funding issue, and they are feeling it.
So non-emergent medical transport is
Mhm.
just non-emergent medical transport. Historically, they had additional funding to cover things like grocery stores and other things that are not medical. And it sounds like that funding maybe either was eliminated
I
or
heard about the wheelchair
reduced
van.
or
Um,
it's, so, okay, let's see. there's, oh, give me
Used to do it.
hyper transit.
Hyper.
Oh, so that's
Yeah.
one that they've come,
So
okay, so
they're-
before they used to just run the wheelchair vans, you're talking about the hyper transport and
Yeah.
everything.
All of
Oh, we have volunteers, we've got 5.
them.
We have 5 volunteers that have been volunteering for us. They drive their own vehicles and we pick up rides that and we contract with Bay Cities, just like Hyper
Mhm.
and some of
There's
the
like
other.
7 other names,
Deluxe,
but yeah,
um,
yeah.
Yeah, so we all, we have to set up, oh, I think Selena's on, she could probably help me. There's
Okay.
like a per mile pickup,
Mhm.
like
Yeah.
a rate, and then there's a wheelchair pickup rate.
Mhm.
So we have to submit that. I think that she could probably do it on a monthly basis, but our rates have pretty much kind of been held the same.
Okay.
Pretty
For the
consistent.
last, yeah, well,
Um,
at least the last year. So yeah, but that's where a lot of our unrestricted funds come. from,
Got it.
Is the, yeah.
But don't cut that.
Yeah. It's been difficult, historically, it's been difficult to find drivers, sometimes we get 6, 7 drivers. and
Yeah.
they're doing really good, and then all of a sudden we lose a couple,
That's exactly how.
and then they come back, so
Mhm.
it's, we pay them just for their mileage. It's just on a reimbursement. So, but like I said, we have 5, I believe it's 5 drivers right now.
Yes.
So. That's it. Just thought I'd include that this time so that you could see the profit.
Okay, is there anything else? Okay, all right, well, I think the meeting is adjourned then at 8:12 p.m.
Thank you.
Thank you guys.
I'm gonna say it's 7.